All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is Give Me 5 time, and my friend Brian Stelter on CNN, who has proudly proclaimed that he favors what journalists are doing, basically being in the tank for Hillary, although those are my words, because they are protecting democracy. Those are his words. He had Sean Spicer of the RNC on as a guest yesterday on Reliable Sources. And first, I want you to, this is a scene setter for the rest of the interview, but this is very important. The early voting. This has been very encouraging for the Trump campaign, and Spicer here explains why.
There's no question I think we're trailing behind, but I think that we've got the wind at our back heading into the final 2 weeks. The momentum's with Trump, the enthusiasm's with Trump, and I think that's what's going to propel us to victory in November.
Where do you see signs of that, of the momentum?
Oh, North Carolina and Florida in particular. If you look at the returns in Florida, we're up in terms of absentee ballot and absentee ballot returns by 2%. We're up over 9% in North Carolina. When you look at where we were 4 years ago in terms of early vote, we're up 20,000 more than we were in Iowa. We're up 40,000 in Ohio. We're up in Nevada in terms of where we were historically 4 years ago.
Okay, so that's good news. So here now we have Sean Spicer addressing the topic of media bias in the way this campaign has been covered.
For viewers at home, it's what goes on and what has been going on in the media is frankly a disservice and in many cases just frankly appalling. How it's been covered, as you pointed out, hold on, because I think at the beginning you pointed out most of the reporters, if you look at their Twitter feeds, they've become unbelievable activists against Trump. They may not like him, but the degree to which they're helping Hillary is unbelievable. Look at the Twitter feeds of most of these journalists, whether it's the New York Times or Politico. Look at some of the revelations that have come out over the last couple of weeks that have come through these leaked emails in terms of the collusion that has gone on in some of these reporters where they're cheering on Hillary Clinton or they're providing them copies of their story to edit or to review. It is unbelievable.
It is, and we've documented them here over and over again. You know, Glenn Thrush of Politico writing to Podesta, hey, I'm a hack. He writes, I've become a hack. Don't tell anybody. Did I mess up the story? And the New York Times giving Hillary the ability to pick and choose which quotes go in the story, and right on down the line. And as far as the Twitter feeds, there's one other reporter for the Politico who we documented this when there was talk the other day of Trump's son-in-law, who apparently his parents were survivors of the Holocaust, talking to investors about possibly starting up a Trump TV network of some sort. This White House correspondent for Politico tweeted out on his own Twitter account that nice that his parents survived the Holocaust so he could provide a TV network that will have a bunch of Nazis watching it. I mean, it's unabashed bias, open bias for all to see on his Twitter account and on the Twitter account of some other people who are supposed to be right down the middle. And here's more.
And then the idea that folks in the media go, oh, you're just playing the refs. That's not playing the refs. That's calling out fouls. That's calling strikes and balls. When people in the media who are supposed to be reporting the facts start becoming activists for a particular candidate, that deserves to be called out. You look at panels that get put on different networks. It's one anti-Trump person after another, you know, and they put on a Republican, but they're against Trump, and so they call it a balanced panel. When was the last time a panel had a Democrat that wasn't for Hillary on it? I haven't seen one this cycle.
That's absolutely true. There are plenty of Democrats out there who are not for Hillary, and you don't hear them talked about at all. There are plenty of African Americans, plenty of Latinos, plenty of lifelong Democrats who aren't going to vote for Hillary. You mean you can't find them? Mainstream media, you can't find any of them? We hear about Republicans who won't vote for Trump all the time. But of course, we know why. More.
There's a lot more unity in the Democratic Party than there is in the Republican Party, though. There are a lot of anti-Trump Republicans.
There's a lot of, but I bumped into plenty of Bernie Sanders supporters, millennials, minorities, who are lifelong Democrats that aren't going to vote for Hillary Clinton, yet we never hear or see about them. Every story and every
false equivalency, though. I mean,
television.
How is it a false equivalency, Brian? How is it a false equivalency? And for it just, you know, for Brian Stelter, again, who has excused what these journalists have been caught doing by saying he's proud of them because they're defending democracy. Well, you know, that's almost okay for Brian Stelter to say. if you want to be admitting and give a outlandish admission that you're the host of Reliable Sources, but you're far from a reliable source, that you have a built-in left-wing bias. And for you to be the decider of what democracy, who's protecting democracy, I would say Donald Trump's protecting democracy. Protecting the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, and more if he wins. And we're going to lose those as we know them if she wins. Anyway, so then Brian Stelter talks about the fact that, hey, I've sent you lots of friendly emails, and Spicer responds.
You sent me some friendly emails like happy birthday, how are you, good job, but I don't get debate questions. I haven't gotten into edit, stories from folks. I mean, again, you look at there's a difference between a friendly email and collusion.
So yeah, people are saying collusion by citing a few examples. They're picking and choosing a few examples of stupid journalistic
But I don't have a few examples.
And claiming it's a conspiracy.
No, but I think, again, look at, there's several. Look at the amount of time that you guys give Evan McMullin and Gary Johnson versus Jill Stein. Jill Stein's been non-existent, and she's still at 5% and 6%. You guys don't want to cover people on the left the way you do on the right.
Right. All right. So and to say a few examples of stupid journalism, it's not a few examples. The list goes on and on. Major publications like the Times and Politico and CNBC and elsewhere. Come on. One more.
You boost up the opponents. You put on people on panels. No one's asked NBC, how did that Access Hollywood tape that only NBC had copies of it? How did that actually get out? Has anybody asked NBC that? Has anybody
Sean,
asked
we've all been asking.
not...
We've been begging for information about that. You know that.
Where's the story, Brian? Where is the story on that? Where is the story? Every time that Donald Trump makes a comment, every Republican up and down the ballot, including here at the RNC, is asked to comment on Donald Trump's thing. When was the last time someone was asked on the record to comment about Hillary Clinton's disclosures, whether it was how she handled classified information, whether or not that they believe she's fit to serve because of how she handled classified information? When was the question about how risky she is as a candidate?
Yeah, and Brian's like, oh, that's a good point. Good point. It's obvious, as plain as the nose on your face. You shouldn't have to hear it from Sean Spicer to realize it isn't happening. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody.